Okay. Good morning, namaste, and welcome to this session on emotional resilience. I'm Nirupama, and I've been a leadership coach and a facilitator for about 20 years. And the work I do is helping people to become leaders of their lives. So I'm very happy to be here today, and thanks to Future Generali for having me on. I believe we are being live streamed on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. So very, very warm welcome to all of you who are there. So I want to start with a question which I've been asking myself pretty much every day during these days, which is, how are you feeling today? So I'm feeling a little nervous about a little bit of the technology. There's been some anxiety about when this lockdown is going to get over. But right now I'm feeling very excited and energized about being here and talking to all of you. So I would love to hear from some of you just the answer to this question. How are you feeling today? So you can go into the comments box wherever you are and just type in your responses. And we'd love to see how everybody is feeling as we get started. So I know many people have been experiencing a mix of feelings. There's a lot of talk about feeling happy about the air quality, at least in Gurgaon, where I am. People are saying, yeah, we feel good about the fact that the air is much cleaner. Yeah, but we also have to wear masks when we go out, so we can't enjoy. Okay, great. I hear Nikhil saying absolutely fine, wonderful. And I want to say it's also okay to feel a little anxious, a little stressed, maybe, or just hopeful. So I think all of us who are able to see this conversation and be here, we are all probably the privileged ones and yeah, the fortunate ones. A lot of people are being concerned about the state of the economy, but what's going to happen? We're also wondering in India, especially about the migrant laborers and the daily wage workers. There's some concern there as well. A lot of people are happy just to be with their families and take some downtime. Just keep those comments coming in on how you're feeling today. Yeah, I can see Manjeet Singh, energetic. Praveen is sharing is not that good. That's fine. Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here as well. We'll just take a few seconds more, and those of you who are seeing, feel free to just keep those comments pouring in. Yeah. Yes, Ramkumar, this is going to be a talk about emotional intelligence as well as resilience. And I want to make this really interactive as much as the medium allows. And I will admit I'm used to doing workshops where I can see everybody and I know what's happening. So in some ways, this is something new for me, but I'm very confident we will be able to manage. Very happy I have the support. Ashish is there to support me in case some things don't work out. I'm sure we're going to be just fine. Great. Thank you. Just keep connected to your feelings because this is also a part of being emotionally intelligent and emotionally resilient. The ability to be aware of and share your feelings is something extremely critical. So let's go on to this topic, this theme for today, which is emotional resilience. So I will just bring up the slide which will show us the topic. Okay, so how do we build emotional resilience? I'm sure some of us are feeling hopeful. Some of us have been feeling stressed. We've been feeling a little agitated. We've been feeling anxious through these times. Just when we expected that the lockdown would get lifted, it got extended. So, stress, anxiety, nervousness, tension is not unusual. It is not common. On a daily basis, we all face a little bit of stress. We all face the normal stress of what's going to happen to my performance appraisal, even some stress on will I reach my office on time with all the commute. So let's look at what is this thing called stress and how and why it happens. Go on to the next slide. And two things have to happen for stress, right? Which is one is what we call an uncertain event, which happens outside. The second is an unfavorable interpretation that happens with me, right? And this is not just due to the corona outbreak, it happens all the time. I'll share a little story of something that happened about 1 month back. My husband and I decided to go on a holidays. As they say now, us zamane pe, we used to go on holidays. So we took a flight and we were going to Assam. And I normally like to arrive at the airport 1 hour before so that aram se I can check in and I can do everything and I will be settled instead of running to catch the flight. So we were on the way to the airport and there was a huge traffic jam. Those days we did have traffic jams because traffic was there on the street and I started getting stressed. I was telling my husband, we won't reach, kya ho jayega? So what if we miss the flight? And he was quite composed. He said, don't worry, of course we will reach. So it's the same situation, but one person had a different interpretation and I had a different interpretation. And my interpretation caused me some stress. Luckily, we made it just in time and we caught the flight. But until I actually boarded, I was feeling this little tension. Right? So two things. Uncertain event, which is an event pata nahi hoga, nahi hoga, or if it happens, kya hoga, right? So which is what we are facing with the corona outbreak. We know something has happened, we have no idea what's going to happen, and we have our own interpretation, which is the meaning that I have given to the event. Hopefully, not everybody is going to fall sick, we will be able to manage it, but we have our meaning. Right? We give our interpretation to the event. So when both things happen, there is stress. And a little bit of stress is actually good for us, right? Even I do want my child to feel a little stress before the exam so that she studies hard for it. We want to feel a little stressed about our work so that we put in our best. And we often go through this on a daily life and we recover very quickly. But long-term stress, prolonged stress has a very negative impact on our health. And let's just see what happens because of stress. And some of you might know this. One is the physical impact on our body. High BP, increasing instances of diabetes, backache, headache, stomach upset, insomnia, and in an extreme case, even heart attacks are caused by increased stress. And apart from that, it takes a huge toll on our mental and emotional well-being, right? Irritability. Some of you might be noticing you're getting angry at small things, right? Especially after 3 weeks of being cooped up inside the house. Anxiety attacks, right? A friend was sharing that she was finding it difficult to breathe and it was not due to the virus at all. It was just due to anxiety or depression. And prolonged stress leads to addiction. And some of us would have noticed, and I'm noticing that being at home, I'm tending to eat much more. It's become like an addiction to keep eating. They call it stress eating. And an extreme case, even suicidal tendency. Right? So actually there is a chemical imbalance. बोलते हैं ना, chemical लोचा हो जाता है when we get extremely stressed. And we need to work on some things to manage it. What we need is a thing called emotional resilience. Right? Businesses have business resilience. You have BCPs, you have contingency plans. There's also physical resilience. So when we exercise, we're building our muscle. Similarly, resilience also is a quality we can build and develop so that we can reduce stress and we can manage these situations better. So let me share with you a definition, one definition that works for me for resilience. What is it? An ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. Human beings are naturally adaptive. Right? After the time, तो adjust हो ही जाता है. We feel, हाँ ठीक है. This is my new normal, as people are often saying these days. But the important thing about resilience is bouncing back quickly, right? Not being stressed for 1 year so much that you get into depression or it takes a toll on your health. How can I recover quickly? Some people are naturally blessed. Uh, all of us, however, can learn this quality of resilience. And I've read a lot of books and I've done some research on resilience. I'm practicing some of these. And I've seen that there are some things that we all can do to build this quality of resilience. So, which is what I would like to share with you today. How can we build this emotional and mental strength, which is what we call resilience, right? And as I said, it's like a muscle. We can't go to the gym for 1 day and lift weights and hope to build the muscle. We need to work out. Right? And this is about doing the resilience workout. So I will share with you a tool. I will also share with you some daily practices to build this thing called resilience. And here is the tool. It's called ABLE. And I really liked it because when we are not resilient, we often feel we are unable. We feel we are helpless. So this is a way to get more able and more confident so that you can tackle any challenge. Here are the 4 steps. The first step, assess the situation and accept it for what it is. Right? And we'll go into each one of these in more detail. The second one is to believe in yourself and develop self-confidence. Normally, all of us are confident, but when some major event happens or some trauma or tragedy or something completely unforeseen happens, we lose that confidence. The third is learning quickly. Right? A lot of us have heard of this, necessity is the mother of invention, but the ability to learn quickly and immediately is required. The fourth thing is to take action. Right? If we don't take action, we become very passive. We give control to the external world. Normally, people get stressed because their focus becomes on what they cannot change, which is the event. We cannot change the coronavirus. Right? We cannot reduce, one person cannot reduce the attack, the governments are doing. I can't do anything about the lockdown which has been imposed outside. But most of my worry and anxiety comes from external events over which I have no control or very little control. So what do? We start blaming, we start complaining. अरे government तो बिल्कुल बेकार है, ये लोग ऐसे नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो लोग ऐसे नहीं कर रहे हैं. So we get into the language of blame and complaint. Instead, we want to move to becoming able. Right? This is about focusing on what I can control, what is within my circle of influence, and taking some concrete actions. So what's the first step? The first step is what we call assess the situation. Right? Human beings are great meaning-making machines. Right? This is the 3M. But we can take meaning out of anything, and it's very normal. Right? So boss has smiled in the morning and said, good morning. Oh, I have done something great. Boss has not smiled at me. I have done something wrong. Immediately we make meanings. Somebody has said something, he hates. Or we make a meaning about a situation. And it's very normal and it's very common. Even today, you're hearing so many assessments about the corona situation. Yes, our economy will suffer. No, it will not suffer that much. We will recover. No, everybody will die. A lot of meanings are made out of this. So this is the first step, is to assess the situation. So I'm going to invite some comments right now and some sharing. Please share on the comment on the chat. What are your thoughts? What is your assessment about the situation? Remember, there is nothing right or wrong about these. ऐसा नहीं कि यही सही है, ये गलत है. Nobody can tell you what opinion you should have. We all have our own opinions. but it's very important to be aware of. Right? So I'm going to open up the comments and yeah, so please share your comments. Love to hear what are some of your thoughts and what is your assessment about this situation. So I know that I believe there is a little bit of a time lag. No worries. We're going to keep this open for the next 3 to 4 minutes. You can take a few seconds, just think to yourself, what is my assessment? And you could have 2, 3 assessments. Right? So one of the assessments that I had is that these are going to be very difficult times for somebody like me who is doing classroom training. Right? I do a lot of my workshops. I travel a lot because my clients are all across the country. And one assessment I've been having is business is going to be bad. This is not going to be a great time for people in learning and development. Yeah, you. Yeah, there's an assessment. Work from home would be normal now. Earlier, it was seen as a perk. Maybe now our assessment is that is going to become the new normal. Okay. Yeah, yeah, Akshay, sharing, you're seeing this as an opportunity to learn. Yeah. And a lot of people have said that. And I know that you're saying we will bounce back. Yeah, a lot of people do believe we will bounce back. And that's a great thing. That's a positive thing as well. Yeah, Ashish is saying it's a little uncertain. Yeah, that's also an assessment. Yeah. So a lot of different thoughts and feelings about the situation. And I'll tell you why this is very important. Because the actions we are going to take will come from the assessment that we are making. Okay, so please keep sharing. Do put in all your comments. It'll be great for others also to see them. Um, and all feelings, all thoughts are welcome. This is the first step. Right? So let me go back to my slides and see why this is important. And to do that, I will share with you a little story. Right? Meanwhile, do keep writing and putting in your comments. And this is a story some of you would have heard. And this is the story of the 2 shoe salespeople. And a lot of people have told me this is a true story. So long ago, 2 shoe salespeople from England went to Africa to sell shoes. Right? That was the time England wanted to colonize the world, and they did that by sending salespeople and tradespeople all over. So one salesperson came to Africa and he looked around, and after one day he took the next ship back to England and he went to head office and said, situation is hopeless in Africa. People there just don't wear shoes. A second salesman went to Africa. And after he toured at the end of the first day, he immediately went and sent a cable to the head office. He said, glorious opportunity, send more shoes. People here don't wear shoes at all. Right? So same situation, same event, 2 assessment. And whatever assessment we make will impact our action next. So it's also perfectly okay to say, yeah, the situation is not great. We don't want to live in this unrealistic, optimistic world. But remember, it's an assessment, it's a meaning, it's a story that we have given. And the idea is to accept as far as possible what we see as reality. Right? And a lot of you would have said it's an opportunity to learn. Yes, but things are also going to be tough. Just today, I heard friends say that people are going to take up to 40% salary cuts. It doesn't matter. Just be aware this is my assessment. This is what I see as the situation. And however bad or terrible the situation is, even if your assessment is that economy is going to be in a slump for the next 2 years, you need to have the second aspect, which is, and this is a quote, which is to remember what you're afraid of is never as bad as what you imagine. Right? The fear you let build in your mind is worse than the situation. So we need to believe in ourselves. What makes you confident in this situation? Right? Some of you might have said things are not good. And often in such situations, we lose sight of all that is good. मतलब सब कुछ खराब लगने लगता है. We say situation is hopeless. And then we become depressed and we get stressed. Right? But there are lots of things from which you can gain confidence. For example, past experience. You might have faced worse situations. You might have lost a loved one. You might have, been fired. You would have coped through uncertain situations in the past, and remembering how you did that can give you confidence. We all have certain abilities and qualities which can help us. Now, I remember listening to this interview with Amitabh Bachchan. Of course, all of us have heard of him, and many of us also know he faced a lot of failures early in life. Right? He was rejected. His first, I think, 13 films flopped. He's faced many ups and downs in his career. So when somebody was asked him, how do you do? How do you get through this? He said it was just hard work. He was being humble, I think, but he said hard work. I work very hard. And that was the quality that he recognized in himself. Right? Others, optimistic attitude, strong connections. I was doing this session for nurses about 2 weeks ago, and nurses are going through a tough time. They don't have PPE. A lot of them were feeling very depressed. When I asked them this, all of them said, I get a lot of strength from my family, even though I've been away from them for 2 weeks. Right? I have the fact, I know that my family is looking out for me. That's a strength. Financial security, I have enough in the bank, health and fitness. These are some of the things that give us confidence. So at this time, it's very important to connect what gives you confidence. In this situation, what are some of the positive things that you believe in that gives you this thing called confidence? And it might be there at the back of the mind, but it's very important to keep connecting to it very actively. They say, count your blessings. You have to keep counting your strengths and your abilities, however minor you think it is in this situation. Right? So I'm going to invite and open this up for comments. Please do share. We would love to hear what gives you confidence in this situation. Right? So just keep those comments coming in. What are the things that give you confidence, that give you strength? And as you're doing that, I will share another interesting story that I heard from a gentleman. So I was asking the same question. What? He said, na, is time mujhe bachpan ki yaad aa gayi. And I think he would have been in his late 40s. So he said, in those days, we managed very easily with very little. Kuch bhi nahi tha hamare paas, but sab khush the. And just thinking about those days makes me feel that I can easily get through this tough time. So remembering his childhood gave him a lot of strength and confidence. So that's one thing we can think about and look at during these times. Yeah, so thank you for sharing. Ashok is sharing, doing daily yoga gives you confidence. And that's also something I will share as a daily practice. Right? A lot of people have also been sharing that they get a lot of confidence from the fact that they are actually there at home with their family. I was speaking to somebody in the manufacturing sector, and he said, I have a lot of confidence because I've got a plan from the management, which is a contingency plan about what we will do in 2-3 scenarios. I have a lot of trust in my management that they are taking care of me. Right? So that could also be a source of confidence. So I would really invite you to keep checking, right? And seeing what are the things that are giving me confidence and connecting to those things. Right? So connecting with people, Vikram, thank you. Monica saying being together with my family, right? Looking back to see, we have reached a lot. Thank you, Ashish. Right? So it's very important to count the blessings, right? And keep connecting with our source of confidence, with our sense of confidence. Right? And it could be anything. The third aspect, after we have assessed the situation, we have connected to our confidence that we feel we can do it. Of course, we have to go on to the next thing, right? And I'll continue with my example that my assessment was situation is not going to be that great for people in learning and development. And I believe that. But I had confidence that, yes, I have some good client connections. I have once or twice done some virtual learning sessions, so that gave me confidence. Luckily, fact that I have at least some savings, so I don't have to worry that if I don't have work for 4 or 5 months, gave me confidence. Another thing that gave me confidence was in 2008, if you remember, we faced a big recession. And somehow I was still a freelance consultant and I managed through that. That also gave me some confidence. But so next thing is, yes, I have confidence. I feel I can manage. Sometimes that alone may not be enough, right? We'll have to do something which human beings have been doing for a long time. That is learn quickly, right? So I'm just going to go on to the next slide, which is about learning quickly, right? So how can we learn? And human beings, we know theory of evolution. We know that it's not the strongest of the species that survives or the most intelligent. It's the one most adaptable to change, right? And we all will change. Sooner or later, we will change, we will assimilate, we will align. But in these times, we don't have the luxury. So we need to change very quickly. So one of the things I need to do, and I still continue to need to do, is to learn how to do things virtually. I've always been a bit of a low tech person and said, नहीं ये मेरा नहीं है, I'm not good at it, मुझसे नहीं होगा, मुझसे Zoom session नहीं होगा. And I've been using that language for a long time. And I've also been saying, no, classroom training is the best. Yeah, I can't be speaking to a computer. And that was my mindset. But now I realize this is what I need to learn quickly to survive. Because in the next 6 months, my assessment is people are not going to travel, companies are slashing their budgets. So I have to learn this very quickly. Right? That's a skill I need to learn. The other thing we need to learn could also be a mindset. How can I change and learn to have a new mindset? Right? And this could be a mindset of abundance versus a mindset of scarcity. Right? And this is what I am also learning. So I'll give you a story. This happened with me. About 4 years back, I went on a trek. Yeah, I remember now those are good days when we could travel. So I went on a trek. It was a yoga retreat, and I do yoga and I do it. I've been doing it for about 8, 9 years. And my yoga teacher was taking some of us. We went to this place in Uttarakhand in the Garhwal region, a place called Goat Village, which was very rustic. There was no electricity. There was only solar power. But we all felt very happy in those days. Ki, acha, adventure hai. We are going on an adventure. So in the evening, we went for a walk. And as we went for a walk, we came to a little hut. You know, gaon ke jo huts hote hain, small hut, only one room. And there was a lady outside the hut. And we asked her, and she said her name was Paro Devi. And there were 14 of us. Without even thinking for 1 second, she said, please come in. Aiye andar. And we went in, we sat on the ground. There was only one charpoy. There were a few cooking vessels in one corner. And we asked her, about her life, what about the crop she grows, kya karte hain, aapki zindagi kaisi hai. And after 10 minutes, we said, okay, thank you, we are going. She said, nahi, aapko kha ke hi jana padega. And we were feeling very bad. All of us are affluent people from the city. And we know that she doesn't have much, but she insisted. And she gave us a plate, and there were 3 rotis. Puris, actually, stuffed puris. I believe they make it really nicely in the hill with aloo inside. She said, nahi, aapko kha ke jana padega. She didn't even think that we were 14 people and it may not be enough. I think it was her dinner, but she very generously gave it to us. And all of us had one bite. At the end of it, heart was full, our stomach was full. And then I realized with such little material goods, right? She has such generosity, so much abundance. So these days, I'm also learning to have an abundance mindset and not panic. Ki lockdown aa gaya, I have to go and buy as much groceries as possible. Instead, I'm learning to see, yes, how can we manage with this and how can we help and give to others? Right? So that's a mindset that we are learning. So I'm sure everybody is learning something new, and we would love to hear some skills, some behaviors, some of the things you're learning, or some of the things you want to learn. Right? I heard a friend of mine is now signed up and learning Italian, a new language. right? So learning also keeps us very agile. Learning something new actually balances the chemicals released by stress. It makes us feel we are in control of our lives. So learning is not just good for the sake of learning, but it's very, very important way of reducing the cortisol, reducing the stress levels, and making us feel better about ourselves. So it's time for some more sharing. I'm going to have, please, we'll throw open the comments. And those of you who have not shared, please do type in your comments, anything about how you are learning. Right? What have you learned? Right? Priyanka has already shared. I think there is a new learning. So I'd love to hear what is it that you're learning? What is a mindset shift that you have learned? Right? Different way of thinking or a skill that you're learning. So many men are learning how to cook. Luckily, I'm very lucky. We have my cook is still there at home. She lives with us. But this morning, my husband learned something new. He learned how to clean the AC filters. Right? He looked at YouTube video. He said, "Abhi to garmi hai. We have to switch on the AC, but we can't get anybody. I will clean the filters of the AC." So he started cleaning. Saw a YouTube video, and he took out the filters. He cleaned it. All of that. So great learning happening. So love to hear. We'll keep it open for 2 more minutes. What are some of the things you all are consciously learning? And it could be something new, it could be something small. What is the new learning that you're having in this situation, which is helping you to cope with it? And science of learning says it activates, right? It activates certain neurons in our brain that is very beneficial for us. Yeah. Thank you, Monica, sharing. I'm learning new skills, cooking new food. Wow, it's a time to learn new recipes. Yeah, thank you, Brijesh, sharing. I practiced yoga. Right, yoga is a wonderful thing to learn, and I can vouch for it. I've been doing yoga for a long time. It's something good to learn. Yeah, meditation. Samiksha sharing, learning meditation. Yeah, how to get, yeah, is that a question is learning is also a way of building confidence, right? Which is what we will also realize that as we learn, we get more confident. So when I did my first Zoom session, I was very nervous. Second Zoom session, I felt more confident. Like today with this live streaming, I was feeling a little nervous. Hopefully the second and third time I will get more confidence. How can we build this confidence, right? On a regular basis is through learning. Right, Kapil has shared there's some change in behavior. Yeah. So very happy to hear from you also. What are some changes? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Right. And the more we learn and the more we become capable, the more confidence we get. So this becomes what we call a virtuous cycle rather than a vicious cycle. Right? Saurabh is sharing, learning some skills from good books. So I've been reading books on resilience and getting very skilled at doing resilience as well. So that's one of my learnings. So it's very important that you identify some of the things you want to learn and keep learning. Great, wonderful. Please keep the sharing coming in. So I will move on to the last aspect, which is very important, which is setting and accomplishing goals. Right? So learning, of course, could be a goal, but it's also very important to have some goals that we will accomplish. And setting high goals, lofty goals is also a great way of overcoming adversity. And I want to share another story with you, a true life story. And I read the book by this lady. I don't know whether any of you recognize her. If you do, you can just type in, but I will tell you who she is. This is a lady called Arunima Sinha, and I came across her story recently. And this is a great example of resilience. Right. So she was a young girl, state level volleyball player. And one day when she was going on the train, unfortunately, some people tried to attack her. She got thrown off the train and the train ran over her and crushed her leg. So she was amputated, had only one leg, very weak. complete change of life. Imagine a young, healthy sports person looking forward to her whole life is now having to live with half a leg. But she did something very unusual. I found extremely unusual. She set a goal for herself, and her goal was to become a mountaineer and climb Mount Everest. Even, how shall I say, healthy people like us who are normal, have our limbs, will rarely set such lofty goals. But she said, "Mujhe karna hi hai." Then she contacted, I think, Bachendri Pal, the first Indian woman to scale Mount Everest. She got sponsorship. She trained with a lot of pain for 2 years. And finally, she climbed Mount Everest. And she was the first female amputee to do so. And just the fact that she did it gave her so much confidence, gave her so much hope. Now she's become also a motivational speaker and she's doing amazing things with her life. Right? And so people who go through dire adversity and terrible circumstances often make it through that by setting this one big goal. Right? There's another story of a gentleman called Viktor Frankl, who's written a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And those of you who like reading will find this a very interesting book to read at these times. And he was put into concentration camp. Right? You can't even imagine the circumstances there. And he started looking at who are the people who survive, who are the people who thrive under most adverse circumstances. When you have nothing, you don't know whether you will live or die the next minute. And he said it's those people who have some meaning, found some purpose to their life. Right? So setting that big goal is extremely important if we want to get through. Something that I will look forward to doing and executing or acting on that. So one goal I set for myself is that I will definitely do before the end of this month 10 virtual sessions so that I become more confident. But it's also important to set daily goals, right? Short-term goals, as well as this big long-term goals and start putting them into action. Why is this? It's not just to do something. It's also because when we set and accomplish a goal, it activates the reward centers in our brain. And we get this nice rush of a very positive hormone called dopamine, right? Which counteracts the efforts of stress. We feel happy, we feel energized, we feel very excited when we have accomplished something. So it's very important to find daily things to accomplish. These days, a lot of people are telling me, and one of my friends was saying, I have what goal should I set? I have only boring tasks to accomplish. क्या है? झाड़ू, पोछा, बर्तन, खाना बनाओ, बच्चों को संभालो. I said, what if you think of those things as goals instead of a chore or a burden? Say, today I will do jhadu. Today I will clean my house. Or if you don't want to, don't do that. Or today I will cook this new dish. Then you start bringing the energy of achievement. You start bringing the energy of positivity to a task which seems mundane or boring. Right? So this morning, as I was telling you, my husband started cleaning the AC and he was not like, "Arey, isko saaf karna hai," but I'm going to clean the air conditioner. Right? And ticking that off gives this big positive feeling. Right? So set and accomplish goals. On a daily basis, also keep a long-term goal or a purpose. All right? What is the one big thing you will do after the lockdown is over? Okay? What is maybe some purpose in your life that you have connected to? That could also be a goal, right? I will connect more with people after this, or I will really support and help the needy. So setting that purpose helps us to get through difficult times on a daily basis. Great. So these are the four main things to look at. Assess the situation and be aware and accept the situation as it is. Connect to your source of self-confidence. Do it actively. Not like, mere paas sab kuch hai, but actively. Learn new skills, learn it quickly, learn new behaviors and mindsets, and execute your plan. So these are different steps. Apart from this, we also have daily practices. Some of you have already mentioned you do meditation. Some of you mentioned yoga. So one technique is mindful breathing. Just sitting still and breathing for 5 minutes is enough. Right? And we say mindful breathing because, of course, we are breathing on a daily basis. But when we bring our attention to our breath, it has a huge impact on our nervous system. right? A very simple technique that I can leave with you for those of you who don't know is to do the inhale, exhale, right? So just count in your mind, just like I'm doing now. Inhale, you count to 4, and exhale, count to 6. Exhale, that's it, right? We want to keep the exhale longer than the inhale because when we keep the longer exhalation, it impacts a nerve called the vagus nerve. And that's connected to our nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. मतलब सबके बीच science है, right? It's not just like बाबा ने बोल दिया, do mindful breathing, but there is science to it. And when we impact our parasympathetic nervous system, it actually regulates blood pressure. It gets us better sleep. So mindful breathing is extremely important. Exercise, how much ever you can exercise, not just to lose weight, not just to keep ourselves occupied, but exercising as a way of managing stress. So exercise releases endorphins, which again make us feel good, which again counteract the effects of stress. The third very important one is to be mindful of the language. As I said earlier, there is a tendency to get into blaming, complaining, "ये नहीं हो रहा है, वो नहीं हो रहा है." And more we talk and more we listen to this language, the more stressed we get. Instead, can we use the language of I can rather than I can't, I will rather than I will not. Everything is bad too, there is some hope, right? So minding our words becomes very important, right? Words are like weapons. So minding the language. The fourth one is actually what we call altruism or helping others. Not just, because yes, there are poor and needy, but when I help others, I actually feel better and more confident about myself. Right? So there's a story, there's a lady I know, and a few years ago, she got cancer. Obviously, that's a life-changing event. But she said, one thing that I want to start doing is serving some of the others. So she set up something for cancer patients and she started doing work and set up this group for supporting other patients who are going through cancer. And doing that work actually kept her motivated, right? So finding ways to help others. The last easy, simple, but very useful one is gratitude. I know these days, a lot of us are grateful for many things, but back of the mind, we feel, yeah, I'm grateful. But it's very important to have gratitude as a practice, right? Like you're practicing skills, practice gratitude, which is nothing but daily tell yourself or write in a book or at least say in your mind, 3 things that I am grateful for, right? What am I grateful for? So finding gratitude and appreciation is really a key to resilience. People who take the time to list things, right? That's why writing listing, and I'm doing that very regularly for the past 6 months as a practice, are happier and healthier. Great. So with that, we are at the end of the session. I just want to open it up for some last comments. So in the comment section, love to hear from you. Any questions? If not questions, do share what are you grateful for. Can you share 3 things that you are grateful for even during this time? And love to hear from many people. What are some of the things you are grateful for? And also simultaneously, if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer that as well. Right? So do keep sharing what are you grateful for, not just to let others know, but also as a way of building your resilience. Yeah, some people have already shared. You're enjoying, learning cooking and gardening, right? Some people are also, and I think Ravin is sharing, I feel that I might lose my job. And this is a very real concern for many of us, right? So how can I manage through this time? I would say very simply, connect to some of the strengths that you have, one, and start networking, right? You don't have to wait for you to lose your job. Firstly, you may not lose it. You might just take a salary cut. But if you feel, yeah, then this is the time to start doing what we call digital networking. Reach out to 4, 5 people, get onto LinkedIn, connect with some of the others, look at your investments, how you can plan. It's important to start taking proactive actions, right? If we just sit with the worry, we will get even more tense, right? So start looking at maybe this is one skill that I could learn. Maybe this is something new that I could do. Or let me speak to 2, 3 people daily and see what I can connect. Maybe I just want to go back to my CV and look at how to make that better. Right? So idea is obviously to start doing some things. Fortunately, nobody can tell or share how the future is going to be. But important thing is to start taking actions with the right mindset, right? And ask yourself the question, does worrying help? So just worrying does not help. How can we move to action? Right? Maybe take a look at your assets. Start taking a look at some skills that you already have. Start listing down best case and worst case options. Right? There is something called Option B, which is a very interesting book that I read, written by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant, where she says if option A is not available, and she wrote this after her husband passed away very suddenly, you have to go to option B. And there is always an option B. So do look at what can your option B look like under these circumstances. Yeah, I've been reading the leadership history. Thank you. Yeah, Swapna, thank you for sharing, spending quality time, getting food. We are healthy, right? Rohita sharing upgrading skills. Yeah, and that's great. And if you haven't lost your job, don't think that you're going to lose it, right? So I think we've also heard that most people are, many large organizations are not thinking of laying offs. At the most, there will be some salary cuts and we all have to adjust. But if you are on electronic media, we are probably the lucky ones or not dependent on daily wages. Right? So there is always some hope there as well. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, grateful for a healthy life, staying motivated, time to find your interests. Wonderful. Great. So I think with that, we are up at 1 hour. So thank you all for being on this chat, for sharing, for connecting. I hope you found some of these tips and tools and techniques very useful. So the only thing I want to leave with you is start building resilience as a practice today. We don't want to wait for the circumstances and external events to overwhelm us. We have the power to handle anything that is thrown our way, and we are fully capable of building that resilience. Great. So thank you all. Those of you who have any more questions, I'll stay online for a few more minutes. There is anything else, any question anybody would like to ask, happy to answer that. Great. Right. So just to do a quick recap for those of you who are there, learn to become able, assess the situation objectively, accept the reality for what it is, then connect to your confidence and all the skills that you have, the connections that you have, the security, even the strengths you might have forgotten about, the potential that you have. Start learning. Maybe even networking is something for people to learn if they haven't been doing it before, right? So many people have been very comfortable in a job thinking networking nahi karna hai. Maybe that's something you need to learn to protect your future, to start learning, and definitely please do set daily, weekly, and long-term goals. So one thing I like to do is to write it in my diary and keep checking off every time I've accomplished something. It gives you a very nice, happy feeling. And do your daily resilience practices. Whatever it is, breathe, right? So, take some time to just breathe, take some time to exercise, take some time to help others and feel grateful. Okay, great. I'm getting a question. I think Varsha's asking some ideas on emotional quotient. So let me very quickly share with you what is emotional quotient. It is just a measure of your emotional intelligence, right? And 5 things are there, right? 5 things to become more emotionally intelligent or high emotional quotient. The first thing is to become aware of your feelings and just connect to yourself and say, I'm feeling happy, sad, angry. Just be aware of what you're feeling. And can you name it? The second is to regulate, right? Regulate means what? That don't flare up, don't get triggered. Can I manage my emotions? Right? I live in Gurgaon and near Delhi, and we've heard of this instance of road rage. गुस्सा आ गया, उसने बंदूक निकाल ली और गोली चल गई. Right? That those people absolutely have no regulation. We also get irritated. We shout. We do things which we later on regret. So the ability to regulate is extremely important. And how do we regulate? Same thing. Breathe. Count to 10. Right? Drink some water. Don't react, respond, right? So give yourself just those 6 seconds from the external trigger before you respond, right? So that's the second thing about emotional quotient. The third thing is motivation. People who have high emotional quotient are the ones who can keep motivating themselves. So the ability to connect to your purpose, set goals, get out of some depression, and people who are intelligent do this easily. For example, listening to some happy, cheerful songs, right, is a great way of motivating yourself, right? So these three are to do with myself. The next two are to do with others, right? Empathy. Can I understand what people feel? Can I listen to people? Can I listen openly instead of judging them? That's also a part of emotional quotient. Fifth one is engaging. Right? This is the part I spoke to you about language. Can I use the right language when I engage with people? Can I use the right words? These are called social skills. So if you're able to do all five, that is what we call being emotionally intelligent or having a high emotional quotient, right? And that's the same. So Sheetal is asking for emotional security. It's pretty much the same thing, which is learning to connect to your strength, learning to connect to your source of confidence, um, also managing your emotions, and doing some daily practices of breathing. Also connecting with people you love. These are all the things that give us emotional security. I think the most important thing for that is to believe in yourself, which is the second part that I mentioned. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Right. So the one thing which I think this lockdown is teaching us, which is very good for emotional intelligence, is slowing down. Right? Just slowing the pace of our thoughts, slowing the pace of our work, becoming more mindful, which is doing things with focus and concentration, is something which is very useful, which we all are learning and also helps to build resilience. Okay. Okay. Okay, there are, I think Harsha's asked for any motivational books. So these are some of the books that I've mentioned. Um, so the book of Arunima Sinha, I told you, she's written a book called Born Again on the Mountain, which is her story of how she came out of this. Man's Search for Meaning is also a very useful book. Option B by Sheryl Sandberg is another book. One of the books I found useful is called Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. So yeah, Shiv Khera, I know from India, has written a lot of motivational books. So these are all extremely helpful. Okay. Great. So I think I don't see any more questions or comments. So with that, I will sign off. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your patience and your questions and listening, and wish you all the very best. Thank you.